RM Sotheby's is the world's largest collector car auction house by total sales. They are the preeminent market maker of high-quality collector cars and collections, regardless of size or complexity. By working in partnership with the Sotheby's team and its network of 80 offices in 40 countries, RM Sotheby's has established the largest client network of any collector car auction house in the world. Join the RM Sotheby's family by connecting with one of their car specialists at rmsotheby's.com or contact me directly at gstanley@rmsotheby's.com. LLC TLC is here to save you money on all of your vehicle purchases. LLC TLC will permanently register your classic cars in Montana to avoid any annual renewal fees. As your registered agent, they will handle everything for you so you never have to step foot in Montana. And as a listener of this podcast, LLC TLC is offering 30% off your entire package. Simply go to llctlc.com/classic or mention this podcast when you contact LLC TLC directly.
Hey, welcome to the Collector Car Podcast. Hey, this is a little different. This is in Monterey. So I'm going to try to do a Monterey diary. So this is day one. I might not look like it, but I've been up for 21 hours straight, traveling from Cincinnati out to San Francisco through Salt Lake City. On the way, as soon as I landed, I had to go to Chinatown to get some Peking duck. Never been to Chinatown before in San Fran, so ran up there to do that. Beautiful drive down to Monterey. Absolutely stunning area. Great weather. And just kind of getting stuff ready to go for the big week. These are going to be pretty short, just to give you a little snapshot into what's going on here. So I helped out a little bit, set up tonight. They're bringing some cars inside, walked around, took some pictures of some of the cars at night, which is really cool. One of the coolest things is the car that was underneath the garage. I had no idea was coming to RM Sotheby's. Now, I'm not telling you what it is today on day one, but keep listening, and I'll have some pictures of it when it's officially announced. By the time this comes out, it would have been announced about a week ago, but it is an unbelievable car that is coming to for sale at RM Sotheby's. And another one's coming out that was actually the topic of one of my most recent podcasts with Tim McNair. It's one of the most valuable cars in the world, will be sold through RM Sotheby's coming up this fall. So anyways, that's it for day one. The other thing is I got a blue Dodge Challenger as my rental car with a Hemi. And that's pretty cool, having a Charger while in San Francisco. I can recreate some of the bullet scenes from back in the day. So that's it for day one.
All right, so this is the day 2 and day 3 update of my Monterey diary. So it's been super busy, so busy I wasn't able to do an update yesterday. So I had to move hotel rooms. Unfortunately, staying at the Monterey Hotel, no AC, so it's actually a little warm in here right now. But as far as Tuesday goes, it was quite an event. So I went to the Concours with a Cause to start off the morning, basically walking around trying to meet people, look at some cool cars. And I decided I'm going to do some podcast interviews while I'm at these different events. And there was a guy I met that had made his own dream car. So be sure to stay tuned and listen up for that. He hand-built this dream car, which is really, really cool, that he created it from scratch, literally doing the chassis and everything. And I interviewed an original owner, family owner of a 1960 Imperial convertible, which was really cool. And I also interviewed a local businesswoman who does classic car rentals out of Monterey. So that was very fascinating as well. I think I did another one, but I can't quite remember. Anyways, that was a really great show. And what was funny is I got there before they started, and the show didn't officially start until 10 a.m. And I'd left about 9:30, and I thought, what am I doing? Why don't I go back? So I went to a little restaurant called the Swiss Cafe or something, and I wanted to grab some breakfast. So I sat down, and I saw 2 car guys to the right of me, and one guy looked vaguely familiar, but I wasn't sure who it was. Anyways, we started talking, and turns out the guy that I thought was vaguely familiar, his name is Dell, and he was my host of the Hillsborough Concours a few years ago, and I actually rode in his 1966 Mustang convertible on the countryside tour through the Redwood Forest. So if you're watching on YouTube right now, I am doing a little video overlay. I did do a full video on this. I will put the link in the description of this, so if you want to see it or you missed it in the past, it's a really fun video. And so we reconnected. It was just amazing that he was there. And then after that, I walked around the show a little bit more. I wanted to go to Automobilia. I couldn't make it on Monday, so here I am on Tuesday, and I made my way to Automobilia. That was really a lot of fun. I thought I would be there for 10 minutes. I was there for like 2 hours. I ended up doing some interviews with some artists. I did an interview with a book publisher, as well as Adobe Road Winery, which they have some really great wines. So again, stay tuned if you want to hear about those. Those will be coming up in the next few weeks. That was really, really quite a lot of fun. And then after that, I ended up going to the Classic Motorsports Monterey Car Kickoff. Now, this is actually the one I interviewed the family that bought the 1960 Imperial new. That was a cool show as well. Honestly, the Concours with a Cause was actually more cars and a little better organized from, I don't know, entertainment perspective. I'm not quite sure. They had a couple bands going on, but this one was good as well. A lot of cool stuff that was going on. Ended up like talking with these great car people for such a long time that I ended up leaving with the last few cars. And before I left, I thought, well, let me see if I can get something cool to eat around here. So I found a restaurant that overlooked the ocean, which was absolutely beautiful, and had a good bit of dinner there. And then I came back to RM Sotheby's at night, hung out with the RM Sotheby's folks, walked outside, looked at the cars under the lights, talked to a few potential bidders of the cars, which is why I'm here, obviously. So today, day 3, I went to have breakfast with Tim McNair. Now, if you're familiar with this podcast, you know Tim is a previous guest twice. And so that was great. Ended up having breakfast with him. I thought it was just 2 of us. 4 other people showed up, all car people, collectors, and that was a wonderful breakfast. So my 30-minute breakfast turned into like 2.5 hours, which was fine. And then I ended up following Tim over to Automobilia. He wanted to check that out. I was able to get this really cool Stanley steamer pin. So I'm going to wear that as I go around. And then after that, I hung out at RM Sotheby's for quite a while, talking to clients. I had quite a few cars I need to look at for clients. And that's kind of the fun part. Now, these aren't test drive looks, but they're like, let's take a look at this car and see what faults there may be or stuff that I need to talk to my client about. And so that was really cool. I looked at a Porsche Turbo S 1997, white car, less than 5,000 miles. I looked at this car in person. It is absolutely stunning car. It is a no reserve car, and it's one that has been babied since new, and it has all of its recent servicing, and including California smog servicing, which it really didn't need, but just a wonderful car. So I have no issues recommending that car very highly to a client. Another car I looked at was the 599 manual car, beautiful blue with light gray interior. This one had been sitting for a couple of years in a storage facility, and it had a couple things on the inside, just more from maybe humidity, affected the finishes a little bit on some of the items. I'm sure it could be fixed easily. I spoke to the other car specialist, Evan Schoen, who used to sell these cars when they were new. I had him review the car with me, and he said, honestly, great car. It's a manual car. These 599s were never meant to have a manual. So they came out with the F1 transmission, but everybody all of a sudden wanted manual. So they decided to put in a manual when it really wasn't designed for it. So they're very rare manual cars, but they're not necessarily great manual cars. And he gave me great advice. He's like, well, just tell your client, you know what, factor in about 20 to 25 grand to get this car perfect, which is a great way to do that. So when you're bidding, you're factoring in that expense that you're going to need to spend to get it just right. Something else fun that happened Tuesday night, I was hanging out at the bar, and I noticed another car guy with a car hat on, car shirt, started talking to him. Turns out he was the crew chief for a historic racing team. And I talked to him, and he wanted to look at 4 cars for his boss. And so I took him around. We looked at a Ferrari Testarossa. We looked at a Bentley Turbo R, which was very, very cool. And there was a 550 Barchetta we looked at, which was very cool. So again, the big part of the specialist job is trying to answer questions, trying to show cars to folks that have a serious interest in these cars. And it was a beautiful night tonight. I'm exhausted. I will give a step update, meaning how many miles do I walk each day in doing this job? I do recall on Monday, it was somewhere around 15,000 steps. On Tuesday, I think it was around 17,000 steps. Today, it feels like I did a lot more walking, but I don't think I did. I haven't looked at my phone to find out, but I am curious to see how many miles am I walking every day looking at these cool, great cars. So what's happening tomorrow, Thursday? I know I have a car specialist meeting at 9 a.m. That's where we take a look at the cars that are being offered at the night and kind of see what is the demand up to this point. Are there some other folks that we should reach out to? And I'll give you a little bit update on that. What's fun about that is, sometimes you'll find out of all the cars that are on offer, there's one or two that have the most pre-auction excitement around them. And by that, I mean number of phone bidders, number of inquiries, number of folks that are coming in to see that car. And it might surprise you. I remember a few years ago when I had like 10 cars at Auburn, I had a 1976 Cadillac Bicentennial convertible. Cool car, original car, unrestored, one of 200 convertibles made. Of the, I think it was 11 cars I had, that one had the most inquiries by far. I had like 10 or 12 people asking about this car. And what was interesting is that car sold strong, but most of the inquiries were people that had good memories of that car growing up. It wasn't that they were necessarily a car person, but they just had such fond memories of that car, they wanted to put one in their garage. The other cool thing that happened today is I met a married couple that are big podcast listeners, and they wanted to reach out to talk about their collection. And I thought that was really, really cool. They're podcasters as well. So I had a great time with them walking around the auction, talking about different cars. So it was a pure joy to meet one of my listeners in person who was also very passionate about cars. All right, so I will talk to all of you tomorrow for, Daily Diary.
All right, for my day 4 update, it was quite a busy week, busy day. I had to run to another hotel super early in the morning, like 6 a.m. in the morning, to pick up some books on all 3 of the Mercedes to make sure that they had them on file so that prospective clients can see the history of these cars. That was super early. Then after that, I went to the Pebble Beach tour. So the start of the Pebble Beach tour. If you haven't been to that, that's really cool because, all of the cars that are shown on Pebble Beach, the day of the big Pebble Beach Concord Elegance, they do this 17-mile tour. And if you go super early, you're able to see the cars get unloaded from the 18-wheelers. And it's early in the morning, a lot of fog, which is kind of cool. See them line up. You can walk right up to all the cars, most of them while they're running, which is very nice. They have coffee and donuts, and usually you can stay and watch them take off, which is a lot of fun. But I had to go to a specialist meeting at 9 o'clock back down in Monterey, so I stayed there till about 8:15 in the morning. Made it to our car specialist meeting. And one thing that's fun about the car specialist meeting is you get to see the interest level in the cars prior to the evening auction. So like how many phone bidders, how many absentee bids, if any, how many online bidders, is this a car that we're showing quite a bit? One of the cars that had a lot of interest was a Bentley Turbo R, dark green. I showed it to a prospective buyer, really cool car. And I don't remember what it sold for offhand, but it went over high estimate by 10 or 20 grand. So there was quite a bit of interest on that car. After the specialist meeting, I went to Laguna Seca to the historic races. That was truly amazing, super fun. I went there to try to sell my Cooper Bobtail. That's a car that's on offer tonight, and it's a 1950s British race car. So I went to any of the racing teams that race British cars in that era, Lotuses, Lolas. I passed around these flyers trying to garner some interest because I want to be sure this car sells for a decent amount of money. It is no reserve, so I'm just trying to put the extra effort into it. But yeah, really cool car. Ran around there, got a nice film of the Trans Am cars taking off, which is really, really neat. So how about we just play that right now? It's only about a minute, so if you're listening on audio only, take a listen to these incredible Trans Am cars as they head out for one of their races. So after the historic races, I met a buddy of mine down at the wharf for a quick bite. And just so you know, on these days, there's always something going on. There's always phone calls asking for information, trying to meet clients, trying to show cars, trying to do all sorts of stuff. And I had 2 things that I had to have happen within 3 hours, and they all happened within 5 minutes. I had to interview one of my previous guests on site, so that will be an interview coming up here shortly. Then I had to meet a client once he flew into town. So a ton of stuff. If you try to catch up with me in Monterey, I'll do all I can do, but
always run around with our head cut off. You never know what's going on. After that, just hung out and showed some cars to some prospective clients, make sure they knew what the cars were all about. And then the auction kicked off. It was a good night. It was, Thursday night's always slower than Friday or Saturday night, but it was pretty busy. And this was a no reserve collection, and everybody was pleased at the end of the evening. Now, when you look at the results, you'll notice that a lot of these sold at low estimate or maybe just a little low. One of the reasons for that is a lot of these cars, majority of these cars, actually all of these cars, had been sitting for like 3 years. And so RM was able to get them all up and running again. But there is that unknown factor when dealing with these cars because they have sat for such a long time. And so I think that held back some bidding. The thought of restoration costs or recommissioning costs, I think, held some of the sales back. The other issue was this auction's in California. Only a dealer could buy the car in California. Otherwise, it had to be out of state because they could not pass smog. So you could actually buy the car, ship it out of state, get the smog done, I guess, and then get it back. I can't remember. But I think that also suppressed some of the bidding as well since we are in California. But then after that, I just met with some friends for a couple of celebratory drinks and went to bed. I'm actually switching hotel rooms for the third time. This is a really, really hot hotel room. Even though it's cool outside, for some reason this room is so hot. So you'll see the background change for a third time, hopefully, for my next update tomorrow.
All right, day 5, what a day. We started with the specialist meeting, reviewing all of the cars. Then I ended up going to the Quail. I've been there a few times, very expensive ticket, and I think this is the last time I will go. It's become too corporate, too much of a scene, and not as much about the cars. Incredible cars were there, though. Like I said in my earlier podcast, there were some cool prototype cars coming out from Lamborghini, Pagani, Koenigsegg, some really neat cars, but it's just not quite a great scene anymore. There's no place to sit. You have all this food, but there's no place to sit. So I ended up only spending about an hour there. It was just such a rough day. So much going on, so many requests from clients. So I ran back to RM Sotheby's, and I was there for the rest of the day trying to get these cars sold. One thing most people don't know is you try to sell the cars before, quote unquote, sell the cars before they cross the auction block, meaning you try to line up people that are interested in the car, make sure they're registered to bid, that they've seen the car, that they're educated on the car, so that hopefully you have 2 or 3 people pursuing that car at the time that it goes live on the auction block. So the auction was good. It was a long time. It was a marathon. We had 80 cars or so. It looks like all my cars have sold. One of the Mercedes coupes did not sell over the block, but I think we'll have a deal coming together here shortly. It was kind of a rough night, honestly. It was like pulling teeth getting bids out versus some of the previous years where the money was flowing like crazy. So things were definitely tighter. I'll have a full recap of the results here in a little bit. And now it's off to day 6.
All right, so it's 5:30 in the morning, and I am doing the 17-mile drive. That might not seem like much, 5:30 in the morning, but I didn't get to sleep till 1:40 in the morning. So I've had less than 4 hours of sleep for the big day here at Pebble Beach. RM Sotheby's. I actually left the dinner party, kind of party, a little early. It was a big night. So the morning started with judging at Concorso Italiano. I had a class of only 2 cars, and one of those cars did not show up. So, just had 1 car to judge, and we had it done by 9:15 in the morning, I believe. Super cool car, super beautiful car. I judged with Greg Jones and Brendan Lawrence, great guys. Had a really good time. Walked the field after that. It was interesting because some weird stuff happened with the guy that bought the show, I guess about a year or 2 ago. Let's just say that there was a lot of drama involved leading up to this week, and it seemed like they were lucky that it just happened at all, much less the fact that they had a very nice turnout, and everybody seemed to have a good time. So some really cool cars there, not just cool Ferraris, but obviously Lamborghinis, Fiats, Alfas, all those cool cars. And so after that, basically the rest of the day was RM Sotheby's. We had our big Saturday night sale, and what was amazing is it was so much different than Friday night. So Saturday night, People were spending money. All the big cars were selling. Super fantastic. The big short wheelbase Ferrari Cal Spider sold for over $17 million all in, which was very, very cool to see that. I think it was my best moment of bid spotting ever. I had a client named John who was going to go after the Snake Charmer Cobra. Great story on that. Be sure to check out it and the history, and there's a link in the description for that lot. And as we're bid spotting, he wanted to be his bid spotter, and so I couldn't tell exactly where he wanted to go in. I said it was around 1.3 million, low estimate, and it seemed like he thought that was too much. But there he was bidding at the end, over $2 million, and it was so much fun to do that because he really wanted a car. It's such a special car. He likes the originality of it. He's not going to restore it or anything else. He's going to keep it just like it is. And it was such an exciting moment. Right after the car sold, I said, let's go get a picture in front of it. So we walked over to the parking garage and got a picture in front of the car, which was a ton of fun. So super, super busy night. Some great activity. The room was packed, so packed, numerous times, standing room only. And anyways, like I said, it's day 6 ended, rolling into day 7. And so now here it is, day 7. And I'm headed to the Pebble Beach Concord Elegance. I've never been there for Dawn Patrol, so I'm excited to get there this early, even though it was makes for a painful morning.
Arriving at Dawn Patrol at 5:30, which was my goal. I got there at 6:30 in the morning, which that the baseball caps were already gone. I didn't necessarily want a baseball cap, but I always heard about them. The donut and the coffees were still there. The donut was hot, and the donuts were hot. You can tell how tired I am. The coffee was hot and the donut was good. And now, if you're not familiar, the Dawn Patrol is where the cars drive up onto the show field. And so you get to see these incredible cars run and drive right past you. And it's a pretty big event. A lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed that. It was just like the parade a couple days beforehand, just seeing these cars moving, getting started up. That was a lot of fun. So I don't know if I'll do it again. I'd like to think I would, but it is just exhausting after the Saturday night RM Sotheby's auction to try to do that. So Dawn Patrol, that was a lot of fun. Walking around, seeing the cars pull in. It's kind of like a mini parade, but they get backed up. So it's one of the most expensive traffic jams you'll ever see at Pebble Beach. And then pretty much the rest of the day, I just kind of walked around, saw a lot of familiar faces, quite a few friends that were judging, and just really kind of tried to take it all in. Now, the goal as a specialist when you're at one of these shows is to enjoy the cars first and foremost, see your clients, talk to your clients, your friends, and then also see if there might be some new potential leads. So what I typically do is I look for collectors that have a cool car that maybe are from my part of the country and I don't know who they are, and try to get to know them. It's a difficult time in which to get to know them because obviously they're very, very busy. But that was a lot of fun. At one point, I was invited to join a picnic that was happening. They had laid their chairs and blankets out at 5:30 in the morning right in front of the awards field, and they asked me if I wanted to join them for a little bit. So that was a lot of fun, and I actually was able to get some good pictures of the winning car. We weren't but maybe 30 feet away. So it was fun hanging out there, seeing the cars come across to get their awards. I did meet Rob Walton, which that was cool, of Walmart fame. He had an incredible Maserati, which was one of the featured marks. But yeah, you get to watch the cool cars go across. Some of my favorite cars from the show, there was this incredible 375 MM, crazy orange with gray highlights, orange and gray car. Absolutely stunning, beautiful. The owners were dressed to match, and they had a cute little dog that was also dressed to match. Some great... I was able to do some interviews. So I did do a few interviews you'll see on my YouTube channel coming up into the future, and spent the day there. Yeah, and you can tell I'm a little scatterbrained because it's been such a long week. So so I just got up. Today's the day I'm traveling home. What an event. Great 7 days. And then last night, had dinner with Tim McNair and some of his buddies, which is fun, a previous podcast guest. And today, we are this morning on my way back up to San Francisco, having breakfast with Tim And then we're going to hit Canapa, which I have never been to Bruce Canapa's place. I'm super excited about seeing that. And so if you're watching on YouTube, I've overlaid some pictures of that visit. And anyways, just an incredible trip. Gearing up for Scottsdale in January, and then Miami in March. The Hershey consignments are full. I hope to be at Hershey, so if you go to Hershey, please let me know. But as always, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to all of you next week.